I did a lot of meetings last week, complimentary board career assessments, a lot of meetings with clients, prospects, people that were trying to sell me things. And across the board, I'd say most people didn't make a fabulous impression with me. And maybe it was just one of those weeks. You often have weeks where it's just not hopefully successful, and you meet a lot of people and you're kind of pleased to get to the end of the phone calls. I want to just talk to you for just a moment. And I mean, some of this is common sense, but I want to talk to you about how do you make a good first impression. First and foremost, you must do your preparation. Most people came to my meetings last week unprepared. They hadn't done any research on me, no research on my business, no research on my social media feed. They really didn't come to the table knowing anything about me. And I'm from a sales background. I've been in sales for 20, 30 years. We always did a lot of prep work before we went out on the sales call. And every time you meet people, you should be viewing it like a sales call. You're selling yourself. Potentially you're selling your business, potentially you're selling your services, maybe you're in the hunt for board seats. You are in a sales call. So when you're making that good first impression, you must be prepared. 80% preparation, 20% presentation. So really do your legwork. Don't just jump onto calls with people, think you can just shoot the breeze. People are too busy these days. So to make a good first impression, do some research. When you get onto the call, demonstrate that you've done that research. So say, "Hi, Kylie, great to meet you. I've been watching your videos. I loved the article you did on X, Y, and Z." Simple opening, but immediately gets that individual's attention because you've shown that you've done some reconnaissance, you've done some research on that individual. The second way you build great rapport is you balance being a listener and a questioner very, very nicely. So active listening is very important. A lot of people come onto calls or into meetings and they talk. And I remember one of the very first things I was taught in coaching was an acronym, WAIT. Why am I talking? The whole point of coaching is to be an active listener. But as you are in a sales call, you should also be an active listener. So think about how you balance the conversation so that you can talk, listen, ask questions, listen, respond, and it becomes a nice, easy framework of a conversation. So you do want to take the time to listen to the other party, take some notes, repeat back what you heard, confirming that you really are genuinely interacting well throughout the meeting. That is a great way to create a great impression. And the final way to make an incredible impression is to be really clear about what you want to achieve out of that call or what you want to achieve from that relationship. Clarity speaks volumes. And again, back to the preparation. A lot of people come onto these calls and they're not really sure what they want to gain from the meeting. And I think you have to be a lot more prescriptive these days. And, I coach all of my board portfolio clients, people who are trying to build out their board seats. And I always say to them, don't just go and have a coffee with someone. Go into the meeting with a clear idea of what you want to achieve from that meeting. What do you want the outcome to be? And so that will frame your conversation. Asking good questions, making that good impression, and looking for a way for a follow-up at the end of the call. The other final point I'll make is you should dress professionally at all times. I go on about this a lot. It is a bugbear of mine, but I really do appreciate when people present themselves well, dressed well professionally for calls. And even if you're in a Zoom setting or a team setting, there's no excuse for looking too casual. So make sure you've got a good visual. And if you are on camera, one of the big mistakes I see people make is they set their camera and their face is sort of somewhere down the bottom here and they've got all this sort of space up above. So, center yourself in the screen. I pay a fair bit of attention to my layout here. I've got some nice, sort of furniture background in the background. I'm sort of positioned well in the screen. People can see my face. I've got the lights on. I've got people going for interviews and they are in darkly lit rooms. And I said, go and buy a ring light. It doesn't take much to make sure you're presenting well. So if you're going to be in the visual world, make sure presentation is really front of mind and you want to look appealing. I'll be honest with you, people like to do business with people who are friendly, amiable, attractive. That's not about being a supermodel. It's about being well groomed, being well presented, taking pride in your appearance, taking pride in your setting, not sitting on your bed doing a video call. All these things you just got to get right. So I said at the outset there was going to be a lot of common sense in this video. But I cannot stress the importance of making a good first impression. I sum up people within a minute and I make a decision mentally whether I want to do business with that person. And people do this the same as I'm suggesting here, and it happens all the time. And so it's an incredibly big missed opportunity if you don't get the fundamentals right. It's a good time to revisit your presentation. How are you making your initial first impression? I think it'll be a theme for all of my coaching calls this week. How do we look? How are we presenting? What's our first impression like? Let's really, really ramp this up.